Hi folks, Alex Jones here with some important information. I want to tell you about Matt Redhawk and his team of patriots over at My Patriot Supply. Several years ago, Matt was sitting in his two-bedroom apartment, frustrated with the direction this country was headed and the charlatans willing to sell us out for a quick buck. Deciding to take action, a company run by patriots for patriots was born. My Patriot Supply has never taken a loan or accepted outside funding. They now operate 2 distribution facilities and employ over 50 hardworking American men and women. It is rare to find companies who practice what they preach. And that's why I stock my pantry with high-quality storable foods from My Patriot Supply. Go to mypatriotsupply.com/Alex today for special offers on emergency food storage, or call their preparedness specialist at 866-229-0927. That's 866-229-0927. Do business with someone who shares your values. mypatriotsupply.com/Alex.
A chemical spill contaminating the water supply in 9 West Virginia counties.
This year alone, over 300,000 people in West Virginia had their drinking water contaminated.
What are the health effects of having these drugs in our drinking water?
It's forced medical treatment without the consent of residents.
My friends, water filtration is one of the most basic actions you can take to protect you and your family from the harmful toxins and heavy metals in your tap water.
On average, the county says it sprays with the glyphosate at least once a week.
Few filters cut out the glyphosate that is found in water supplies worldwide. Remove pesticides, herbicides, chloramines, hydrofluorosilicic acid, sodium hexafluorosilicate.
Fluoride, it is in tea, it's in coffee, it's in water, it's in bread, it's in toothpaste.
It is our responsibility to protect our families. The establishment's not going to do it. It's time to take action. It's time to filter our water. Visit InfoWarsStore.com and use promo code WATER to get 10% off their entire family of incredible products. Or call toll-free 888-253-3139. This is Alex Jones for InfoWarsLife.com. The latest in preparedness is now here. An electrically stabilized colloidal silver solution that can be added to both your home cabinet and preparedness pack alike. Concentrated to 30 parts per million in what has been dubbed the survival silver solution. The new InfoWars Life Silver Bullet Colloidal Silver is the answer for you and your family. And it's entirely free of toxic artificial additives that are loaded into many products. The InfoWars Life Silver Bullet Silver is so powerful that it is concentrated into a 2-ounce bottle and is not recommended for extended continual use. This is not a low-grade formula. We are working with one of the top laboratory manufacturers in the United States to bring you the best form of colloidal silver using electrical processes within a base of deionized water for your preparedness storage or your home kitchen. Purchase your bottle of InfoWarsLife.com Silver Bullet Colloidal Silver today and find other amazing supplements at InfoWarsLife.com.
There's a need for a new world order, but it has different characteristics in different parts of the world.
Live from Austin, Texas, broadcasting worldwide, it's Alex Jones.
The real global mafia is meeting right now in Copenhagen, Denmark, protected by the state-run media, protected by the state and taxpayers' money. And they're not being protected from physical harm. They're being protected mainly from the harm of the bright lights of publicity. And Charlie Skelton writes for The Guardian and its sister newspaper, The Observer. And his stories have been widely circulated. Probably the top coverage of the last 5, 6, 7 years of Bilderberg has been at The Guardian, much of it his. That's a big deal. There's a reason The Guardian's #1 in Europe, not just in England, and it's because it covers globalism. It covers the New World Order. It covers real stories. It covers the NSA whistleblowers. And they've been threatening to arrest members of The Guardian. So I've got to give it credit where it's due. DrudgeReport.com has linked to the official Bilderberg 2014 attendee list that we have mirrored from their site. We're also going to add to the bottom of it. Yesterday, they released the official agenda, which I can assure you will not be the real agenda being covered. Because they'll have these official meetings, and then the little breakaways is where the real criminal stuff's going on. By the way, mainstream British news last year said it was illegal. I mean, they are setting policy in secret. Going back to Charlie Skelton, I know you'll have a lot more tomorrow and throughout the weekend. We'll have live coverage again Sunday as it all ends on the Sunday broadcast as well. I may even just have David Knight and Paul Watson, if the Skype is good, host the Sunday show with myself just calling in so I don't dominate the discussion. I have to kind of exclude myself, or wild horses can't drag me away. But other points you think are important, or other observations, Charlie Skelton?
Well, from the agenda, I would definitely, I mean, whether they're discussing this, they're certainly saying they are. They're discussing the question, does privacy exist? Which, you know, for an organisation that values privacy as much as Bilderberg does, it's a curious question. But it's interesting they're discussing privacy with, you know, the head executive chairman of Google, Eric Schmidt, and the head of LinkedIn, Reid Hoffman, and people like Alex Karp from Palantir Technologies. So these are kind of big players in the new media and that world. So it's, you know, in a world where, you know, we, the people, are extremely transparent. It's interesting that they would ask, does privacy exist? And, you know, it's a question everyone should actually be asking. Perhaps not in the way they're asking, because, you know, their idea of privacy and ours probably differ, and the importance of privacy probably differs. But I think that's interesting that privacy in a post-Snowden world, you know, is at the centre of the Bilderberg discussion.
Well, I think you make a really good point there, that these guys are just such hypocrites on every front. Schmidt, who's a frequent attendee, the head of Google, he wants to be secret. He had YouTube takedown videos that we posted of him hiking up the mountain a few years ago in Switzerland, then they put them back up later when there was protest. I just don't get how they want to live in one world and then we live in another. Why don't they just want everybody to be free? I just don't get how they think they're important, but we're not.
Well, I know, you end up with a slightly Hunger Games division of society, as the Bilderbergians zoom through the ghettos. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a slight, you know, there's a double standard in at play. You know, when you're being held in a sort of police pen, pointing a zoom lens at a group of world leaders, which include people like the head of the IMF and two ministers from the UK, and a shadow minister as well. So these are politicians. There's a lot of politicians here. If you look at the list, you'll see the number of elected officials. Sorry, I hate that. Public servants here. You know, it's staggering. And you know, where are the minutes from the meeting? You know, so there are questions like that people should be asking. You know, this is a meeting where 3-day conference. You know, Chancellor of the Exchequer, the head of the Treasury in the UK, is going to be here for 3 days. It's probably his biggest you know, engagement of the year officially. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it is. And you know, we need, if that's happening, and if there are so many politicians, we need better coverage from the mainstream media. It's improving certainly, but we need more, and we need more transparency from the politicians who attend. You know, that seems, I think, reasonable, and that's a double standard I think we can explode within the media and generally. Hopefully, I say that. I'm an optimist.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, I remember, again, 5 years ago, they wouldn't admit that the stock markets are rigged and that the interest rates are rigged. Now even Rolling Stone admits it, and everything is rigged, the biggest price-fixing scandal ever. Look at LIBOR. Look at the big European banks, and the U.S. is doing it as well, fixing interest rates to screw the general public, where the elite get basically free interest. We have to pay interest, even if we have good credit. Rigging things is a big deal, and we're there showing where it's being rigged, and it's just simply amazing that we have forced the bigger establishment-aligned media to cover this, because believe me, folks, a decade ago, if mainstream media covered Bilderberg, you would lose your job. Charlie Skelton, thank you so much for the time, and you can hand that back over to Paul Watson, and I can't wait to see your reporting at the London Guardian.
Here's Paul.
All right, final comments from Paul Watson, and then I'm going to go to your phone calls and cover Second Amendment news, economic news, the First Lady controlling what's on our school lunch menu news. She's going to respond to critics now. How dare you want to be able to have your kid eat what you want? Well, under their rules in Chicago schools, you're not allowed to pack lunch. She decides, and it's going to go nationwide now. That's like North Korea, again, where Kim Jong-un decides what people eat. I mean, I just can't handle it, folks. This is authoritarianism, and we're going to expose who pulls the strings on Michelle Obama, and who pulls the strings on David Cameron, and who pulls the strings on Angela Merkel. Paul Watson, any other comments that you think are important?
I would emphasise that we need to post the agenda, which is also on the Bilderberg Meetings website, as well as the list, because they've announced the agenda. And aside from some very interesting other discussion topics, listed are Ukraine and the future of Europe, what's next for Europe, which obviously in the article I posted earlier today, Ukraine and Europe were the main focus. Obviously you have Mr. Messerschmidt, Morten Messerschmidt, who won the Euro elections in Denmark. You have Nigel Farage for UKIP in the United Kingdom, and you have Marine Le Pen in France. So there's this kind of far right, the media calls it, revolution.
It's really libertarian Tea Party. We know Penn, we know Farage, we know them all. They're all Ron Paul fans. Le Pen was good buddies with Bob Chapman on record. These are libertarian listeners of this show who have common sense. Look at the Tea Party sweeping in primaries all over the U.S. The globalists are concerned, and they were concerned in 2006 about the, quote, liberty movement and Ron Paul. We got that directly from Bilderberg in 2006. And Estelin's source, I happen to know who it is. I'm going to leave it at that. I'll just say it's a major banker. I mean, the system knows who it is. But the point is, said they're going to implode the housing market to bankrupt the American people in 2008. We reported that 2 years before on video with Estelin in a bar 2 miles from the Bilderberg meeting. His sources are real. He's coming up in the next hour. So how big a deal is that?
I mean, it's a massive deal. Obviously, you mentioned the German magazine article a week ago saying that Bilderberg is more powerful than Davos. You have NATO Secretary General Willy Klaas from Belgium in 2010 saying that Bilderberg members are mandated to implement, the decisions in their relative spheres of influence. Then we have this topic on the agenda, which is who will pay for the demographics. Now, to me, that appears as if it's not a monetary sense who will pay for the demographics. It's the cultural and the social identity. That's the price that people are going to pay. Obviously, this conservative revolution is based on anti-immigration policies throughout Europe. People are really getting behind that in Europe. So
because they're bringing in giant masses of people, giving them free welfare, making them the new social workers, and the government is literally overthrowing all existing liberty with the giant third world desperate populations, who we have nothing against, but literally this is an overwrite and an extermination of Western culture.
No, and we talked to Danes earlier, and they were very clear that mass immigration was a problem, but that it was it was not the immigrants' fault. It was being pushed from above. So then you also have discussions about China's increasing power, Ukraine, what's next for Europe, and talk of demographics and immigration. So the three core issues that we identified this morning in the report on Infowars.com are being discussed at Bilderberg. Ukraine, obviously, with Putin, top globalists saying that Russia is now officially being kicked out of the New World Order. Of course, it was kicked out of the G8, which has now become the G7. So you can go down the line. They've got intelligence officials here from Britain, several other people. They're talking about how special is the relationship in intelligence sharing. They're saying, does privacy exist? That's one of the other topics for discussion. So this is absolutely crucial, 2014, the convergence of global geopolitical economic development and this key meeting, which, as we said, is more powerful than Davos. That's not us saying that, that's Bilderberg members saying that. So this is really a crucial fissure in the setup, the march towards world government. It's in very severe danger of collapse, which has been illustrated by the Euro election results.
And notice their website looks like the State Department website. That's because if you look at 1954, with the former Nazis and others and the West, you had British intelligence, the State Department, and all of them setting up the first Bilderberg. They now admit they created the secret European Union. They've created the secret American Union. We're already in this, and now they're bragging about it to major German magazines. Why do you think on one side they deny any of this is happening, but on the other side they throw it in our face they're doing it?
Because the minority of people aren't into this kind of stuff, and they don't read the news, they don't read books, they don't read anything. So on the face of it, they can, justify it by saying it's just a private gathering to the media. But as we know, when the specific topics are released, and we see that they mesh with global geopolitical developments then.